here we go. First 5 reads, 2024. I got the stack right here. Oh my gosh. This is getting out of hand. For those of you who just stumbled upon this video and never seen one of my videos, my name's Stephen Foster. Most of the time, I should just do like a whole thing eventually about like how, like this channel, I do a lot of tech stuff and like photography. I'm really like, I love just checking out tech and getting into photos. I do some professional photography work as well. I worked in Silicon Valley for over a decade. Recently though, I've been getting more into just reading physical books, but also on like Kindle and also getting more into writing. I've been writing a lot over on Substack. I'll have that linked down below. I figured why not this year do some like, hey, here's like the few things that I'm reading this year. I guess feels like a little bit more than few, but totally doable. This video is just gonna serve as like the first installment of like, what are my reads for this month? Why you might be interested to check them out, and leave a comment down below with some of your favorite things. Maybe if there's something here that you're like, oh, if you like that, you might like this. The first book that is on my reading list for January, I actually just finished it maybe a few days ago, is The Wager by David Grann. He is the author of The Killers of the Flower Moon, which was a movie that I guess Scorsese did something with, I think last year, was it right? Yeah, I still haven't seen it, need to see it. I got interested in The Wager because I'm kind of like a fan of this period in history, like 18th century, and also just the idea of like shipwreck, mutiny, murder. It just sounded too good to be true. And the fact that it's actually nonfiction and the way that David Grann has kind of pulled together this narrative from these 3 different characters, it feels surreal. And that's like one of my favorite things, is I love it when you can find a good story, true story in history that is so crazy, like so crazy that it's crazier than fiction. Like this is my kind of stuff. I think I blew through this in like 3 sittings. It's about 250 pages. If you're into like survival stuff, if you're into sort of like thriller even a little bit, but definitely also like history, I mean, you're into like that sort of time frame, like kind of like Revolutionary War time frame, this is definitely a book to check out. Reads really easy, hard to put down, you know, worth a read. Second book on the list here is probably I think the book that least amount of people will want to read. I kind of stumbled into this, and it's the biography of John Quincy Adams by James Traub. Yeah, James Traub. I'm about halfway into this. Thing's like almost 600 pages. Last year, I started off the year reading the John Adams biography by David McCullough. And I was like, yeah, you know, it'd be cool to like read a biography about the son, you know, both like just legendary early American family. I think the thing about John Quincy Adams is he was not John Adams. And so it's a little bit more of like, I feel like I'm dragging through this book a little bit more. And James Traub is not David McCullough. You know, nothing on James Traub, but like, you know, David McCullough is David McCullough. This book is really good if you want some international sort of perspective of like what it was like being a diplomat as like the early United States were forming, and like just all the things that had to happen for the United States to survive beyond like the Revolutionary War into like the first 50 years of the country's life through the lens of John Quincy Adams. Has at least been interesting. It's been enjoyable enough that I'm gonna finish the book, and it's been a good read. It's not like the McCullough biography of John Adams, which you should absolutely read. But yeah, John Quincy Adams, James Traub, hope to have that one finished here in a few days. This is a good time to talk about our sponsor. We actually don't have a sponsor for this video, but down in the description below, I'll have links to every single one of these books. If you check those out, we have like affiliate links, and that helps support the channel. I'll also have a link to sign up for Audible, which if you want to do like any of these books on audiobook, sign up for a year of Audible and you'll get a discount, and that'll also help support the channel. So with that, on to our next book. The third book in this lineup is Magisteria by Nicholas Spencer. I know nothing about this author. I know really nothing about the premise of this book other than like this idea of the entangled histories of science and religion was really compelling. I liked the cover art, absolutely judged a book by its cover. This is one of the books that I asked my wife to get me for Christmas. I don't even know how long this is, shoot. Yeah, a good 400 pages. If any of you have been following my Substack now in the last 2 years, I write a lot about sort of my perspective on religion coming from a background of like Mexican Catholicism, and then having lived through now over a decade in English Protestantism, and having worked and lived in Silicon Valley as a computer scientist and software engineer, and sort of like the sort of place between those two worlds. And now I've been very deep in the Spanish mystics, and I think that's kind of where I found my home, but I still really love exploring that, that entanglement of history of science and religion. I'm stoked to see how this one goes. Maybe I'll report back in the next video, these ones that I haven't finished yet. The next book I actually don't physically have. It's on my Kindle here, which I did a whole video about the Kindle, the base model, which has been like my Kindle of choice. I was coming from an old Paperwhite. Gave up on the Paperwhite, 100% base Kindle. I'll link the video down in the description. Actually, leave a comment down below if you do use some type of like e-ink device or like even an iPad to read, phone, whatever. Book number 4 though is Feel Good Productivity by Ali Abdaal. I had the chance to meet Ali Abdaal last summer in Austin, Texas. I was out there for his course, Part-Time YouTuber Academy, which I think he's moved now into like a pre-recorded thing that just anyone could sign up for, which is super cool. But I knew when Ali announced this book that I had to check it out. And a lot of it's absolutely common sense and like things where like when you hear it, you're like, of course, but it's just so good the way that like Ali has packaged this book. I still haven't finished reading it. I've been kind of dipping in and out of it in between work when I need a little bit of a break or in between some of these bigger reads. It's one of those books that you just read, you read it for maybe 10, 15 minutes and it just excites you to get back to work. Or if you like aren't excited about your work, it just gets you excited to go find that thing that you need to find to get excited about your work. And I think that's like a really powerful thing to have in a book. So I'd recommend checking it out. I hope to finish that up by the end of the month. I'm certain I will. I've been just on a reading tear. I've never read this much in my entire life. All right, the last book, I actually don't have the physical copy either because I got it on the Kindle because I already had a printed copy of it. This is actually from Penguin Classics, Cicero's Select Works, but in here there is Cicero's letter or his book on called On Old Age or On Growing Old, but I'm rereading it now with the translation and introduction and sort of like context from Philip Freeman. If you haven't been on this channel before, you haven't read my Substack, Philip Freeman is probably one of my favorite authors that's alive right now, writes a lot of history, nonfiction history from Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar. He did one on Hannibal, I think 2 years ago. That was phenomenal. That was like such a great book. Last year he did a book on Julian the Apostate, also fantastic. Reading Cicero through Freeman's eyes has been it's been fascinating. It's been very interesting. The book is called On Old Age. Again, it's linked in the description down below. And you may think, especially like, I know most of my audience watching here are like under the age of 50. You might be thinking like, why would I read a book on old age? There are so many things in here that Cicero talks about how you set up your the first half of your life to live a good second half of your life. I think that's really important. I think a lot of us don't think about or struggle to imagine. I think without deliberately going to a source that can explain to you like, hey, when you're, in your 70s and like not like your parents or not like, but like actually going to someone who, if I just don't want to get beheaded like Cicero, that wouldn't be awesome. But like to, have the villas and like drink wine and write books and, maybe less of the Civil War stuff, but more of like the, Roman senator, who writes great books. Like I want more of that in my life. The stuff that was in Cicero's control. I think actually he put together a very good life for himself. Cicero like wrote the foundation of like the Renaissance and a lot of the things we think about now that we just like take for granted, just so many things. This whole piece On Old Age is a must read. It'll get you thinking about the first half of your life differently. And even if you're already in that second half of your life, there are just things in there, just that awareness to see certain things a different way. I don't want to ruin it, but highly, highly recommend it. Okay, with that, 5 books, my first 5 reads for January 2024. Leave a comment down below if you have a particular book that you're working through this month. I would love any recommendations, especially if they relate to any one of these 5 books or sort of like the ideas around these books. If you end up picking up one of these books, let me know in the comments below as well. So be kind both in life in the comments down below. Like this video to send good vibes. To all my subscribers, thank you so much. You guys are the best. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. It's a good time over here. We're on an expedition to live a complete life. That is the thing about this YouTube channel. That's why in 2024, I'm not just locking it down to tech, photography, but we're talking about like books, reading, writing, getting the most out of life, enjoying life. So if you're down with that, if that's something that you might be into, come hang out. We'll do it again soon. Later.